everyone, and welcome to Around South Jersey. My special guest tonight is the man with the golden plan. Whatever he does goes well. It's Joe Condo. How are you, buddy?
Always good to be here, Jim. I'm doing just fine, thank you. Good to
Good.
see you again.
Glad to hear it. Joe is a patent attorney. And how long have you been doing that, Joe?
Patent almost 25 years.
Wow.
More than 25 years, 1998, so more than 25 years now.
Where did you go to college and where did you go to law school?
Got my undergraduate degree at Rutgers in Camden. I have a bachelor's degree in physics. And then I went across the river to Drexel to get my master's degree in physics.
Oh, wow.
And then almost 10 years later, went back to law school at Rutgers Camden and got my law degree. So that's how I ended up being a patent lawyer. I have the science degree.
Oh,
and
I see.
law.
Okay. Wow. So what did you do during that period of time with your science degree?
I worked for about 5 different companies and never changed my phone number. I started out at RCA in Camden in 1985 when I graduated college, and then that was bought by GE, and then it was bought by Martin Marietta, and then it merged with Lockheed, and now it's L3 Communications in Camden. So I worked there for about 11 years, I think, before I moved over to clerk for a law firm in Philadelphia, where I started when I finally got out of law school.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So, I know you mentioned to me a guy that I know you met down here and you did a patent for.
Right, that's how I ended up down in this
Yeah.
part of the world.
Yeah.
I met a Millville Vineland resident.
Yeah.
I was right on the border
Yeah.
of Millville and Vineland, and it turns out he was connected to a cousin of mine who referred me to him.
Oh, that's good.
And so I came down here, did some work for him, and we became fast friends, and the rest is history. That was 2011, right when I started my own law firm.
Oh, okay.
And I've been down here hanging around out here with these guys ever since.
That's super.
So, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, Jody Farabella was part of the clubhouse or whatever it was there.
The pole barn.
Right.
Jody's actually probably about the second person that I met when I came down here, and love Jody. We hang out with Jody a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a while, but I used to hang out with Jody a lot.
Well, you know how dumb I am.
What was it, lead in? How dumb are you?
I am dumb. I actually thought, and this is the truth, in all due respect, I did not know Mike Donato, but I knew Jody, and I'm thinking, why are they not promoting Jody to run for sheriff at the time? Because Jody had retired as a police officer. And I think somebody said to me, one of your people said, well, he doesn't come to the breakfast and all that. And I said, well, while he was a police or chief, I don't think he could. Anyway, to make a long story short, Mike Donato runs, and I get to meet this guy. I love Mike Donato. Oh, my God, what an amazing person he is. As much as I like Jody, this guy is equally as good and was very successful. And my friends that ran, with you running their campaign, obviously, and when Mike got elected, not this past November, the November before
Right.
that, they said they called Mike the general, right?
Right.
Because he'd keep on him, keep on him, keep on him. And you know what? I have to tell you, in all due respect, I really admire, Joe, what you've been able to instill in your candidates. I mean, they support each other. I know Jimmy Sorrow and Sandy Taylor were out banging on doors for Cilio and Romero.
Right.
I mean, it's unreal, and it's paying off. I mean, there's no question. Although, what do you think about this past year? Were you surprised a little bit?
I was surprised a little bit, but not a lot.
Oh.
And everybody on both sides of the aisle knew that in a presidential election,
Yeah.
it was going to be much more challenging for the Republicans in Cumberland County. And you and I have had this
Yeah,
discussion
sure,
before.
absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've remarked, and you're right, that Democrats come out to vote in larger numbers in presidential elections than they do in the mid-cycle elections. And so it was and let's face it, Celeste Riley is a popular, well-known candidate as well. So though President Trump carried Cumberland County.
I said he was going to, and
Right,
he did.
you did say that,
Yeah.
and I didn't think he was going to. I
Yeah.
didn't think he would carry Cumberland County. He's the first Republican presidential candidate to carry Cumberland County since 1988.
Wow.
So it's been a long time.
That was Bush, one of the
that was
Bushes.
Bush in
Yeah.
1988.
Wow.
And that's the first time a Republican presidential candidate has carried Cumberland County in almost 3 decades.
Wow.
So we really didn't expect the president to carry the county, certainly not by the numbers that he did.
Uh-huh.
And of course, Congressman Van Drew won by even a bigger margin
Yeah.
than President Trump did.
Yeah.
However, that didn't carry down ballot. So what we think we saw, and I'm not going to say too much about our analysis, but what we think we saw was a lot of disaffected Democrats who went for the Republicans at the top of the ticket and then came back home for the column. Now, Tony Romero was reelected by a relatively comfortable margin, and though Joe Cilio didn't quite make it, it was only knocked off by 50 votes.
Right,
so
exactly.
it
Very
wasn't
close,
like
yeah.
it wasn't like the
Well,
landslide.
right.
In 2020, and you had mentioned Mike Donato and Jody Farabella a little bit earlier. One of the reasons that Donato got the nod, or a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons that Donato got the nod in 23 was because he was the candidate in 2020.
Right, yes,
had worked
right.
very hard from 2020 all the way through to 23. That's why they call him the general, because he's out there motivating candidates all around the county, and not just the candidates, but also our local organizations, to get out and do the door-to-door and the lit drops and the ground game that we need to prevail. So in 2020, though, we got clobbered in the 2020 presidential election. So if you compare the 2020 numbers, of course, now let's not forget that was COVID and all vote by mail, so it's an aberration by any analysis.
Yeah.
But we got clobbered in 2020 and effectively broke even in 2024. I mean, we lost a seat, but that was by 50 votes, so it was effectively a tie.
Well, and it's interesting, too, when you think about who you lost the seat to was the former sheriff, Bob Ostino, who had great name recognition, just like Celeste did, for that period of time. And it was funny. I had Sandy Taylor on right before the election, and she was promoting Celeste and all these people. Or I'm sorry, she was promoting.
Let me know if I need to know something.
No. She was very strong with promoting
Tory.
Thank you. And so anyway, as we were going through it, and I said, this was before the election happened, I said, and I mean this sincerely, I said, I will say, for the Democrats and the Republicans, I like all 6 candidates that are running. I really do. I think they all had some good things they brought to the table. Tory's bright as anything, and Tony's got a great following, and Joe was the chairman, the Freeholder or County Commission director, and those things going. And I love Johnny Capp, although the poor guy's that hasn't been able to finish in the money, but he's a wonderful fellow, school teacher and all that kind of stuff. So at least I would say all 6 candidates were good people. And so I said to her, whoever wins, they're going to be good people, and they are. So but like you said, I mean, Ostino just beat Cilio by 50 votes.
Right. And of course, Sheriff, now Commissioner Ostino, was sheriff for 15 years.
Exactly.
So he's no stranger to the political circuit. He's no stranger to campaigning, and he's got a lot of name recognition.
Yes, he does.
So the fact that Donato was able to take him out the previous year was more of a surprise than the fact that Ostino was able to pick up a seat on the Board of Commissioners this year. So was I surprised? Yeah, I was surprised a little bit, but not a lot. Now, politics, as you know, there's an election every year.
Yes.
And there's an election this year. And Doug Albrecht and Tory Lodes are up for re-election this year. Have not heard even a whisper of who the Democrats are planning to run, but we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. But I can't imagine in a gubernatorial election year where almost certainly, it's an open gubernatorial election, but almost certainly the Republican candidate is going to do remarkably very well here in Cumberland County. Eric Simonson and Antoine McClellan, they're popular members of the Assembly.
But they don't have my buddy running with them.
They don't have our buddy running with them this year. And that in and of itself is going to be interesting because if there's anything, and we're talking about Senator Michael Testa, and there's one thing that you can look at the years where Michael's on the ballot. Michael's coattails are long and deep.
Oh, you bet.
And when Michael's on the ballot, his charisma, his popularity, he wins his district by 30%. And it was one of the things that was interesting in the last cycle, when the state redistricted the legislative districts. Michael took on Bridgeton and lost a few towns in the west of Cumberland County. They're heavily Republican. And we know why that was done. Michael had won his previous race by 30 points, and the expectation was that he could absorb a Bridgeton, and maybe that would cut into his plurality. Well, then he won again in 23 by 30 points. So when you're winning by 30 points, you have some pretty long and deep coattails, and Michael has proven that to be true. So he won't be on the ballot this year, but Eric and Antoine will still do well. They're doing a great job up in Trenton, and they'll be reelected.
Well, and it's interesting, having been involved with the Democratic Party, it's almost impossible to find anybody to run against your state senator and your state assembly people. And unfortunately, I'm very happy for for what you and Senator Testa have done. You've built the Republican Party in Cumberland County where you have a breakfast with 125, 150 people. The Democrats can't get 25 people together. I mean, it's just, but again, once you're losing, it becomes tougher to find people to want to run.
As a Republican from Camden County, I am well aware of the challenges associated with the losing syndrome. And you're exactly right. When you're losing year after year, it's hard to recruit candidates. It's hard to raise money. It's hard to get volunteers enthusiastic. But the momentum that you build, picking off a seat here and there, and then you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, you can see the goal. I mean, the level of enthusiasm, I mean, I'm not from Cumberland County, obviously, but the level of enthusiasm that I experienced since I got involved with Senator Testa in his first race in 2019, that's, as I said, I've been hanging around here in the poll barns since 2011, but I didn't really get involved in politics until 2019, Senator Testa's race. And the enthusiasm that I see among the Republicans in Cumberland County, and it's across the county, the opportunity to flip a county that, as you know, has been primarily Democrat controlled for 50 years. And so, now the Republicans have to actually do their job up there in the courthouse, and there have been some challenges and some struggles to do that, because the other thing that happens when you're out of power for 50 years, and no offense to you or any of your colleagues, but there's a lot of things that you want to do differently, and you're inheriting people and projects and things that you have to figure out what to do. And people come and go, and then you have to put new people in. And there's a lot of change. You listen to the president now, right? The president is filling up his cabinet. He's filling up department heads.
How come? I mean, you should have been on the cabinet, because
I think I should have been.
I think so, because in fact, they said 12 of the cabinet members are billionaires. And Joe, I know with your patent.
I'm close. I'm only a billion short. I'm only a billion short. So I should have been on the cabinet, and I'm expecting a call any day now.
I hope so.
I'll let you know when I get the call.
I'll be your driver.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. If I get on the president's cabinet, you can be my driver. That's a deal. But this happens, and you see it happen at the beginning of a new presidency. But when you're running a county government and you have an election every year, you're not in for 4 years. You have an election every year, so there's a change every year.
Exactly.
Literally every year. So you have new commissioners, new ideas, new department heads. Everything gets shuffled around literally every year. So it's constantly in flux. Now, would we be better off if we had one election every 4 years and we elected all 7 commissioners at once? Kind of like the Millville local government, where you have one election every 4 years and everybody's up. That election is this year, of course. I don't know, but the change is a constant thing, and one of the things that's always I've always found humorous. If, like, the Republicans are six Republicans now, if they vote together as a block, then they're not thinking independently. They're being controlled. They're if they vote separately, then there's chaos. The Republicans aren't unified. They don't know what they're doing. I scratch my head, and I'm like, they're independent thinkers, so they're not going to agree on everything. And if they did agree on everything, people would be complaining about that too. So. You know it from your years. No matter what you do.
That's true. Wait, it's interesting. I watched the last meeting, and in fact, Senator Testa and I talked about it on his show. Doug Albrecht came out with this thing about closing the Cumberland Mall office, of the county clerk's office.
Right.
And I was actually a freeholder. I don't know if I was director, but I was on the board. And Celeste and I got together, and I was part of the idea of opening one at the Cumberland Mall. Now, as you talk about, to the other commissioners' credit, Commissioner Sandy Taylor and Tory Lodes both brought up some really good points. First of all, it's her budget, not their budget. Secondly, she brought in $200,000 last year on passports.
Right.
And like the senator and I talked about, it's a very convenient place to be able to go rather than have to fight the courthouse to get in there and all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, to their credit, they voted 6-1 with Albrecht coming up with the idea. But at least you saw that there was both sides.
At least there is discussion.
Yes, exactly.
And we want to encourage discussion. And in that particular vote, I mean, Commissioner Albrecht was proposing to move it to a different county-owned building, not to the courthouse, but to I
didn't know that.
That was Sherman, there's a building in Sherman and Delsey that I think he was
there is, yes. Okay, I'm sorry. I did not see that part of it. So, I understand what he's saying.
It's on Quinn Broadcasting. You should look at that.
I should, because I caught part of it. I must have missed the other part, because I did hear, but that has makes a little more sense.
Right.
And especially if the
He
county
proposed it
owns
as
the
a
building.
cost savings
Okay.
maneuver.
I
There's space
apologize,
available.
Doug, because I didn't know the
But-
whole story. Yeah.
Sure, but even still, that building is you would go there only for that purpose.
Yeah, right.
Where the mall is
Yeah.
more inviting,
Yeah.
it's more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's and I know the first county store that I remember. I don't know whether it was the first county store ever, but it's the first one I remember was the Camden County.
Okay. I thought there
county
was
store.
one in Deptford too, Gloucester.
And I think there's one everywhere now.
Yeah, right,
But
yeah.
the first one, of course, that I remember was Camden County, and it's just delightful to go into
Yeah.
the mall. There's
Yeah.
a store there.
Yeah. It's
By
convenient.
and large, passports are the big thing people
Exactly,
do.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just easy and it's
Yeah.
nice. And then you can do the other things in the mall while you're there. You're not
Yeah.
going there specifically for your
Yeah.
passport unless you want
Yeah,
to.
yeah, that's a good point. We're talking with Joe Condo, who is the Republican campaign chairman, Mr. Midas Touch. Whatever he touches turns to gold. And when he gets that first billion, then he's going to be on Trump's cabinet. Anyway, we'll be back to talk more with Joe right after these messages.
Many people treat their health like a game. With Complete Care Health Network, it's easy to start your healthcare journey. Just select from our specialties and schedule online, by phone, or on our app. Our entire team communicates with one another, so everyone works together on your total health. Plus, we make it even easier with all of these additional benefits. Level up your health with us. Complete Care Health Network. No games, just great health care for everyone.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
Hey, check this out. Hernia repair.
Ain't nothing, man. Kidney surgery.
That's nothing. Gallbladder removal.
That's nothing. Spinal repair. I don't see nothing.
Exactly.
Minimally invasive robotic surgery at Inspira Health. Scar so small, it's almost like nothing ever happened.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here. And if you're having a hard time hearing, call MD Hearing because they changed my life and they can change yours too. I was wearing expensive hearing aids for years until a good friend of mine told me about MD Hearing. I bought a pair of the hearing aids with no doctor visit, no prescription, and no hassle. I got fitted right over the phone and I've never had a better pair of hearing aids. I'm even wearing them right now.
Call now and get 2 rechargeable Neo hearing aids for just $297 with a free portable charging case and free shipping. The rechargeable Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design, and you can get 2 rechargeable Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime U.S.-based support for only $297.
Call my friends at MD Hearing and get the over-the-counter hearing aids that I use for you.
Call 855-993-1930.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. My special guest is Joe Condo, who is a patent attorney and is also the Republican campaign chairman. And this year, you've got, you have to, we talked about Antoine and Eric,
Right.
Antoine McClellan, Eric Simonson running for state assembly. But locally, it's just 2 freeholders up. Right?
That's right. Yeah, right. Commissioner Albrecht and Commissioner Lodes are up for re-election this year, and I'm quite confident they're both seasoned campaigners, and Doug Albrecht is more energy on the campaign trail than most, other than perhaps General Donato.
That's true.
Doug Albrecht has more energy on the campaign trail than anybody we see. He's consistently a top vote getter. And, Doug and Tori will be reelected, handily. I'm quite confident in that.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. And it's interesting, as times changed, and to your credit, to Senator Testa's credit, and to take over the Republican Party and build it to a great amount of people that come and good candidates you're able to get. And winning cures all. I mean, that's what's wonderful. You guys have been winning and winning and winning. And I see on the Democratic side, they've been losing, although last year Sheriff Faustino did win a seat. So there's one commissioner now on there that is a Democrat, rather, and Celeste kept her seat. So instead of it being 9-1 as it was last year, it's now 8-2.
Right.
But, as you say, I don't even have any idea what Democrats would run for county commissioner this year.
Right, I haven't heard a rumor or a whisper yet, but it's a little early still.
Yeah,
So.
and also the other thing that comes into play, this is a funny story I mentioned earlier. In 2019, I wanted to run for assembly, and I'd gotten the Cumberland County Democrats endorsement, and some people in Cape May County, like Steve Barry, you probably know, Steve's an attorney. Anyway, we were talking about it, and anyway, Van Drew ended up putting a squash to me and says, I'm the titular head of the Democratic Party, you're not running. And then his son of a gun 6 months later became a Republican. But here was the funny part of it was Steve Barry, who's my age group, and we were joking about he and I running as a team for the assembly. And he said, Jim, you know what our slogan could be? I said, what's that? He said, you have to worry about term limits on us. God's going to limit our terms.
That's rough.
He's an attorney, and I just love his sense of humor.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great like that. But I don't see in my lifetime, and probably many other people's lifetime, any Democrat winning any one of the seats of the Assembly or Senate. It's just Cape May County is tremendously Republican, and thanks to Joe and Senator Testa and many of the other people, Cumberland County has become very Republican. It's gone from blue to red, and even like my friends that were like Vizard and
Kenny Wilden
in Marshwood Township. Thank you. They said, "Hey," I said, "I don't blame you. It's you got to do what you got to do," and they were able to be successful and hang in there. There's a young man named Jeffrey Rascone who just turned 18. He was like Mr. Millville runner-up and stuff. I've had him on TV with me. His grandfather was a guy named Jack Feldus, and Jack was my road supervisor. Jack was the mayor of Marshwood Township. Jack was a great guy, did everything all the time, work. Well, this is his grandson, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Jeffrey just got elected to the school board in Marshwood Township.
Yep.
And congratulations, Jeff. But there's a kid that's an up-and-coming person that down the road I could see where he could be electable to some position.
I will shout out to Jeff Fresco, and I am well aware of his name, and I am well aware of him, and would very much like to see him take a more active role in the party. And I am aware of his grandfather's history as well. So,
it's
would love that. And that's one thing you mentioned. You just turned 18. One of the things that we're seeing in Cumberland County and places beyond, not everywhere, in what I call the demographic realignment of the parties in the post-Trump era, is young folks are, especially young men, are registering Republican far more than Democrat. The Republican registration we're catching up to the Democrats statewide. So, still way behind, hundreds of thousands of registered voters, but definitely closing the gap. It was much higher than that in the last gubernatorial election. So this is going to be an interesting year. Every year is interesting. You don't survive 40 years in politics without finding it interesting. But this is we're going to see. Republicans have not won an open gubernatorial election since 1981, when Tom Kean narrowly defeated Jim Florio in 1981.
That was my favorite governor, Tom Kean.
Tom Kean?
I loved him. Yeah.
Great guy. Great guy.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. I survived in 1985. The Tom Kean landslide. And, Joe, there weren't many Democrats that won. I think Salvin and I may have been two of the few Democrats that even won. And this was interesting. A friend of mine who ran the election department, after I won in 1985, he goes, Jim Quinn, you can survive the Kean landslide, you'll never lose. Well, guess what? Thanks to Jim Florio, and you and I know that's how we become friends.
Well, we start talking about the 1980s, of course, right? The 1985, if it weren't for the election of 1985, I probably would not be sitting here talking to you today. Because in 1985, we put 3 Republicans in Camden County for the first time since Watergate.
Okay.
And then they got reelected in the landslide of 1988 when George Bush got elected. I think it was the last time a Republican won New Jersey. But they got reelected in '88, which opened the door
So you
for me
could
to
be-
run in 1990. Yeah.
And then you got to be the director.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, Senator and I were talking earlier about it. But you will go down in the record books as the last freeholder director, Republican freeholder
Yep.
director in Camden County.
Yes.
Because now they're county
Now they're county
commissioners.
commissioners. So I used to say all the time, I don't want to take that title to my grave. I wanted to be able to swear in the next Camden County Republican freeholder director, and now I'll never do this. So I'm an answer to a Trivial Pursuit question.
That's right,
Now. Who's
yeah.
the last Republican freeholder director in Camden County history, and that is I. So every once in a while I Google myself, and it's nowhere to be found. So just, you and I know it.
That's what matters. So the
That's what
people that
matters.
watch, they know. But
Right.
he's the last that as well. And it was interesting. I served 9 years in the from 82 or 83 was my first year when I got sworn in till 91. And of course, I lost because of Florio. And then I ran for. This was neat though, Joe. I got to tell you, all the elections I ever had, this was the best. I ran as myself. I didn't run as a Democrat. Didn't run as a Republican. I just ran as Jim Quinn. And at that time, that's all Millville was doing. There was not affiliation of Democrat or Republican. And obviously, I was top vote getter. Jeff Trout, I talked him into running, and he was second, and Jimmy Parent was third. John Hollingshead was fourth, and Joe Durrell was fifth. Of us, 3 of us were registered Democrats, 2 were registered Republicans, but we didn't play the RD game.
Yeah.
We had Larry Pepper was our negotiations attorney. We kept him. You know, whoever we had, we left them alone. We didn't care what their political party was, and it really, really worked out well for us. Now, in fairness, it was the Democrats who put together the slate when Mike Santiago. I went back to the county freeholder board to get away from one of the worst people I was ever served with in my life. I said, I can't deal with this guy, so I went back to the county as a freeholder. But that year, whatever it was, Mike Santiago and Bruce Cooper and Joe Pepitone, and there were 2 others, but the 5 of them ran, Jimmy Parent might have been one, as the Democratic slate. That was the first time in the history, I think, of Millville that happened. And then this past time, it was pretty much a Republican slate. You know the people that got elected were all Republicans, to the best of my knowledge, Romanek and the woman.
Well, one Democrat got elected in the last cycle. You.
No. Oh, I did. I'm sorry. Yes, right. I got elected, and I said, no. If I got to serve with that jerk, I'm not going. No, out of here. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about it. And that was all. As every election I'd run in Millville. That's funny.
Right.
Every election I'd run in Millville, I was first, second. And then I ended up fourth in this one. And honest to God, folks, this is a true story. I'm sitting, looking at the voting coming in, and I see that I'm running fourth or fifth, and I'm saying, Lord, please let me lose. Let Bobby McQuaid take my seat. I don't want to serve because of one person that was on there. I can't stand dealing with that man, never could, and that's why I got off the city commission to get to the county, to get away from him. But, yeah, that's right, I forgot. And it's funny when you think about that. I got elected. I didn't serve. Then Bobby McQuaid, to their credit, they gave him the position because he finished sixth, right, which was nice. And then he didn't get reelected. This Watson guy, who I still don't know the guy. But he had a lot of support out to the Millville Elks, where his uncle and aunt were very big players out there. And he got elected for Bobby's position. And then, of course, the mayor, she gets out of it, Lisa Orndorff. And then, you had
Marissa Brunello.
Right, that's right. You told me to vote for her, so I voted for her. And she didn't win, though. But,
No, she did. Carol Kosobu.
Yeah, and it's funny. Carol's husband and I went to school together. I don't know Carol, never knew Carol before. But again, she was part of the Elks. She was very active with the Elks. So I guess the key in Millville, if you want to win, be an Elk. Be an Elk.
You should be an Elk anyway.
Yeah, well, you should.
Be an Elk anyway.
I've been an Elk for many, many years, but I just don't go out to the bar and sit and drink. But they do have a big sports frolic coming up. It's, February 13th, I think, something like that. And Ike Reese, I think, is going to be the person speaking. And that's always well attended. And they give awards to people who have done great things, helping the kids in the community and sports and that activities and stuff that go on from there. But back to the Millville City Commission, right now, when Lisa left, Romanek moved up as the mayor,
Right.
and then, as you look at it now, they just ousted Suey from being vice mayor, and Watson is now the vice mayor,
Right.
and Casaboon, Hewitt. It was Casaboon, Hewitt, and Watson that voted for Watson to be the vice mayor
Right.
of the city, and Romanek, of course, and Suey voted for Suey. But then I don't know now. I mean, like you said, it's less than a year till in November. You got the election coming up, and I tell you what, Joe, I know you. Well, you could. You go on YouTube and watch. I sat the other night and watched the meeting on YouTube, and I thought, thank you, Lord, that I'm not there. It is horrible. It was bad when I was there. I mean, I had this retired judge get up, and he kept speaking and speaking. You're supposed to have 5 minutes, right? Not, and anyway, I figured, well, he's a retired judge. I'm going to give him 10 minutes. So after the 10 minutes was up, I said, Judge, you've gotten 10 minutes. You got to sit down. He goes, no, I'm not sitting down. And the chief of police was there. He said, the only way you're going to get me out of here is he's going to have to physically throw me out. I'm going, okay, what the hell do you do with that? Okay,
Right.
Somebody said, Jim, you probably should have taken a break or something. Yeah. I just sat there and, but what I'm saying is, I see some of these people get up and I'm thinking, what in the world are you talking about? And Millville, for some reason, finds these people. They were there when I was there. They were there before I was there, and they're sure as heck there now. And it's like, are you really thinking straight? But I don't know. I can't imagine any other municipality having a more difficult group of people that are never happy. They get up and complain. But that's the freedom of choice. You can say what you want.
That's absolutely right.
You get that right to do that. But it'll be interesting to see. Now, will the Republican Party put a slate together?
It's too soon to answer that question, but I can assure you that all eyes are going to be on the Millville Commissioner's race this year.
Right.
All 5 seats are up,
Yeah.
and all eyes will be on that race. So whether our party will actually, because technically, Millville is a nonpartisan form of government, so technically the party cannot support or endorse candidates. That all having been said, we all know what happens. You mentioned it earlier. A group of Democrats get together and run together. A group of Republicans get together and run together, and it's not.
And it was funny. That was the first time. Well, it's because we had a new chairman, but that was the county chairman. It's the first time I ever saw that happen in Millville up until that year that he put together Santiago and Cooper and Pepitone and Jimmy Parent, and she was a former Miss New Jersey. Ashley Adavelis was the other person that ran. The 5 of them ran pretty much as Democrats, and they all got elected. But then, as you see, this past time, they pretty much were all, except for me, Republican, that ran and got elected. And boy, it's difficult when you look at the Millville form of government. I don't know if it'll ever change. Joe, there's maybe 4 city commission governments in the state of New Jersey. It's antiquated, folks. It should get the hell thrown out. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's amazing because it's not the kind of thing that sane people look into, but somebody like me, clearly not particularly sane, that have looked into forms of government before. And there are an incredible number of forms of government that are available to municipalities in the state. But Millville has, I believe, a Walsh Act.
Yes, it is.
Walsh Act government, and there are, like you said, a handful left.
Well, and what's tough about it is I tried one of my last times there to see if we couldn't get it on the ballot to change it. Like most cities are mayor council.
Yeah.
Mayor Finucci has his council. Mayor Kelly has his council. Even in Sea Isle, for heaven's sakes, they got 2,000 full-time people.
Yeah.
They went from commission form of government to mayor council.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. But I tell you, Joe, when I look at it, I couldn't get the support of my fellow commissioners. And you know why? Because each one of them, and I understand this, has the power for their department. So the mayor really doesn't have any more power than whatever department he or she has, and they run the meetings.
Right.
But the director of public safety, totally over the police department, the fire department, the rescue squad, director of revenue and finance, and HR is usually the vice mayor. He has that department. So it's, and this is a funny story, and I want to say also my condolences go out to Gary Wadlinger's family. He was an attorney and a good Democrat attorney, actually. And he just passed away. Well, right after I got elected in 1997, I went into the Orr House, and Gary was there. He says, "Jim Quinn, you're not the mayor of Millville." And I looked at him because I just got elected, and I was elected as the mayor. He said, "Lou Thompson's the mayor of Millville." And he was right. Lou Thompson was the administrator. Lou Thompson had his hand in every department because he could, and he was the administrator. He knew everything, and been there for years and did a good job. And under the commission form of government, he's pretty much right. It really was. And, I put full time into it. I felt I did a great job. I doubled the rateable base. I brought in Millville Town Center, the Union Lakes Crossing Shopping Center, the New Jersey Motorsports Park. And boy, Joe, there was something. In fact, I think the New Jersey Motorsports Park cost me being the mayor in 2009 because, and to the people, I understand, the noise was bothering people and they blamed it on me, which I guess you could. But what's neat now is, if you've been out there,
no, I almost never get out there.
I have to have you come out and do a show out there with me.
Yeah.
Anyway, what happened was we had to give them an abatement, the normal stuff to get them in. And of course, the critics get up, that's crazy. Well, you know what, dodo birds? Let me tell you something. Right now, the New Jersey Motorsports is bringing in phenomenal amount of ratables. They put in some condos, but what's a home run for them, Joe, is the exotic car garages.
Right.
And these things are going for $380,000, and they've got at least 50 of them, and they keep growing. They just keep building and building and building. So if you take 50 times 380,000, Joe, what's that come out?
A lot.
A lot of billions.
Almost enough for me to be on the president's cabinet.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Close to that $1 billion mark. But what's neat about that is, folks, it's 100% rateable for, well, I shouldn't say the county gets their share, schools gets their share, but there's no demand. They don't have kids going to school. They're not allowed to. There's no police problems. You don't have shootings out there like we have at 4th and Broad and all that kind of stuff. And I got a story today about that. Anyway, that's been a godsend to the city for the rateable base. It has to have helped a heck of a lot. And again, there's really no need. You don't need the police. They have their own security. There's no kids going to school. So, I mean, it's a really good thing. Self-sufficient, basically, is what we have to say. But this is something, as I look at these shootings that are happening in Millville. I remember in 2001, I was the mayor, and I got invited to a ceremony celebrating the life of a 22-year-old kid that was killed. And they went right in his house, shot and killed him in his bedroom. Obviously, there's probably drugs involved. So one of the ministers asked me if I would come out for a candlelight vigil in the young man's honor. I said, sure. So it was on the porch of his mother's home, and I gave my condolences to his mom and his sister. There were about 50 people out in the street, and I said the following. I said, and this is the way I feel. I'm not an NRA person. This is the way I feel. Anyone possessing an illegal gun should do 3 to 5 years in prison. I said this to these people. I come off the steps, one of the cops comes over to me and said, hey, Mayor, half those people you just said that to are packing right now. And that's, guess what? 4th Street, 3rd Street, 4th Street, Paulberry, Dock, Klein. It's terrible. It is horrible. And yet you're not allowed to frisk them, Joe. You're not allowed to, you can't see they have the guns. You're not allowed to do that. And yet last night, a 13-year-old kid and a man got shot at 4th and 600 block of 4th Street. I'm coming home recently from a Millville football game. I turn onto Oak Street, boom, shooting on Oak Street. It's like, it's just unreal. And I think the Millville Police Department are down people. They can't get enough officers and things like that. So it really doesn't do the town well when you think about those type things going on.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, that's terrible for sure.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, I have a friend, she was telling me her ex-husband had 12 guns. His buddy has 100 guns. I'm thinking, do you really need that many? Do you really? I don't have any, but I mean, I don't have a problem with hunters being able to go out and kill Bambi. If you want to kill Bambi, it's okay with me. But do you really need the automatic weapons and all that stuff? But unfortunately, your party doesn't stand up to that. They seem to go along with what Trump says.
You're talking to a life member of the NRA.
Well, you've got to be a Republican. You've got to be a member of the NRA.
Or if you support gun rights, you're a Republican.
Yeah.
It is actually enshrined in the Constitution.
Yeah, but you know what, Joe? I come back to what was put in back when it was the revolutionary days. You didn't have police departments. You didn't have organized organizations like we had then. Yeah, you needed to protect yourself because there was no police. There was, nothing there to protect you. But this is 2025, not 1775 or whatever, So that's my side of it. And I know nobody believes it. And obviously I'm not running for office, so I would never get elected, but I feel, especially after what I said, and they came over, and the cop told me, he said, half the people you just said that to are packing illegal guns.
Illegal. The key word in what you just said was illegal.
Guns. Illegal. But they're everywhere, and, like the guy that's got 12, if somebody breaks in his house, they're going to steal the guns. And that's one of the things that bothers me. And what you see happening is all of these shootings. I mean, in the neighborhoods in Millville. Yeah. It's like, holy cow. I mean, not that doesn't happen. A few in Vine, a few in Bridgeton, but Millville seems to be the hot spot right now that's occurring. So, whatever it takes, I guess we need to try to look at it, but it's very tough. Oh, I know the other factor was, going back to when I made that statement about I felt anybody possessing illegal guns should do 3 to 5 years in prison. I was talking to high school kids, and this big kid in the back of the room, he raised his hand, and he said, "Hey, Mayor, you live where I live, you'd want to have a gun." I said, "I understand what you're saying, but that's a sad situation."
Right.
But he's pretty much right, because he's living in what's the hood, and I know a lot of it is Bloods and Crips, the gangs that are very prevalent, I guess, that, for drugs and all that kind of stuff that go about. But anyway, it's what it is. We'll be back to talk more with Joe Condo, who is the Republican campaign chairman, who's done a fantastic job getting all the Republicans elected, and he's done a great job doing that. We'll be back to talk more with Joe right after these messages.
C&H Disposal Service has provided customers with the best customer service possible since 1981. C&H Disposal Service provides trash removal, dumpster rentals, septic cleaning, repair and installation, septic system certifications, portable restroom rentals, and demolition. With great customer service and competitive pricing, C&H Disposal Service has you covered at the home and on the job. C&H Disposal Service. Stick with the best.
Thunderbolt Area Federal Credit Union is your hometown team for banking. We offer banking which is small town focused and customer based. We know you and we are for you. Thunderbolt Area Federal Credit Union is a nonprofit and federally insured. Solid as a Thunderbolt airplane, we are your team. Thunderbolt Area Federal Credit Union, 1601 Cedar Street.
Hi, I'm Bob Millard, President of Thunderbolt Area Federal Credit Union. Come see us and experience banking as it used to be.
Many people treat their health like a game. With the Complete Care Health Network, it's easy to start your healthcare journey. Our mental health services focus on the emotions and behaviors that affect your overall well-being and features psychiatric, counseling, and addiction services, including our exclusive Fresh Start program, designed to help combat the opioid epidemic in our communities, plus all the other specialties you expect from Complete Care. Level up your health with us. The Complete Care Health Network. No games, just great healthcare for everyone.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. My special guest is Joe Condo. Joe is a patent attorney and is also the Republican campaign chairman. And Joe, when will you Well, you already have your freeholder candidate or county commission candidates. They're the incumbents, and you already have your assembly candidates. They're the incumbents. So you really don't. You're not looking for any candidates. You're all set. Pretty much, right?
We are not looking for county commissioner or assembly candidates. That's for certain.
Yeah,
Now, the gubernatorial race, there's at least 4 Republicans that have announced in the gubernatorial race, so the party will still convene, of course, to select which of the 4 gubernatorial candidates that they.
I got my money on Chitterelli.
My money's on Chitterelli, too, for anybody that's on the Republican County Committee listening in here. But, yeah, so we have to do a formal endorsement of a gubernatorial candidate, and then the formal endorsements, of course, of the assembly candidates and the commissioner candidates, which should be pro forma, and also the municipal candidates, which in most cases is also going to be, uncontested. So we're looking forward to that. The convention will be held.
The Millville municipal candidates?
We can't do that because it's nonpartisan.
Right,
so the
exactly.
Republican Party will not formally endorse candidates in the Millville commissioner race. And I'll leave it at that for everybody else that understands exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
We won't formally endorse any candidates.
Well, you know what, Joe? It's interesting. I was trying the last 4 years ago. I mean, I wasn't running or anything. I was county commissioner. But I was trying to get people that I knew were really good people to step up and run. And they said, Jim, there is no way. And like I said, I watched those meetings. I think, thank you, Lord, I'm not there. I don't want to go through that abuse that I went through for many years that I was there. But it's tough to get really good, qualified candidates to run. I mean, there are a lot of wonderful people that I know in the city of Millville, Democrats and Republicans, that don't want to do it. I ask and ask and ask, and they just said no.
You and I have both been on that side of the dais.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say it. I mean, we were talking about Second Amendment rights before the break. First Amendment rights cherish as much as Second Amendment rights.
True.
And the people have a right to come out
they do.
and seek redress for their grievances. But here's where the but comes in. It's always the same thing.
Yeah.
It's always the same thing.
Same people.
As if, the same, it's always usually the same people. But it's always the same thing where they're complaining that the elected officials aren't doing what they should be doing. And then I scratch my head and I say, because in many cases we can't get good quality people to do what needs to be done because the public comes out and berates them instead of trying to work with them. The day I hear a member of the public come out and say, listen, I don't really agree with what you guys are doing, and I would be more than happy to offer my help and guidance rather than berating them, offer support and help and guidance.
Well, you know, the other thing, Joe, that I think Lisa Orndorff suffered with this as well.
Yeah.
I've been lucky. She was bashed. And Facebook is now the really, it used to be the open letters. Now they put stuff on Facebook. In fact, Larry Malone was telling me that people use false Facebook names. It's
Absolutely.
Not even them. And they start ripping the heck out of
It's
them.
endemic, and they're doing that to us on the county level, too. They have these fake accounts.
Yeah.
Or anonymous accounts.
Right.
And then they say things.
Yeah.
And they don't care what they say because you can't figure out who they are, so they don't have to worry about libel or slander.
Yeah, good point.
And every time I see one and when I get aggravated, I'll call them out for being cowards. If you're hiding behind an anonymous Facebook site. But the thing that really disturbs me about that, not that people are trying to do that, but if somebody's posting something anonymously, how can you believe what they're saying? And why would you believe what they're saying?
Yeah, exactly. If you can't put your name to it, then the validity of what you're saying goes down the drain.
Because invariably what they do is they'll get a fact, and this is why the term fact checker makes me crazy. Because especially as a trained lawyer, we're trained to take a set of facts and tell the story we want to tell, right?
Right.
5 different people can take the same set of facts and tell 5 totally different stories.
Yeah.
So what they do on these anonymous sites is they might get a fact, but then they put their own gloss on it and make it sound like it was something, and then you realize they have no idea what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They have no idea what the real genesis of this fact is, but they got the fact, and now they're painting their picture with it. Yeah. It's just ignore anonymous sites. They should just be ignored.
Well, and I was lucky for all the years I was in government. Facebook wasn't the prominent way that people would find or get stuff written about you. Now it is, and I know how much Lisa struggled with that, and I'm sure other elected officials, the same thing. Stuff is put up that's, not true, but
Yep.
well, it's there, it must be true.
Well,
No,
and even if it's true, just because you're a public figure, this is what goes back to why it's so difficult to recruit really good candidates. Because even if you're a public figure, you don't really need to have your personal life exposed.
Right, exactly.
I want to take the chance. Come on, we all have a personal life.
Yep.
And it's so easy to hide behind an anonymous site and slander somebody else, even if it's true. And I realize that's a contradiction in terms. But to slander somebody, even if it's true, because it's easy to just sit home anonymously and hit that button. Those people they're I'm almost going to say it if I can. They're just lowlifes.
Well, and you know what I find, Joe? I've always been the person that looks at the glass half full. I'm an optimist. I don't like pessimists. I don't like negative people. Blah, blah, blah. Life's too damn short. Be positive. Look at the good side. There's got to be good things about each person. Look for those things in the person and just, support them. Like Joe said, if you got some ideas, okay, maybe, we could take your ideas and maybe have the solicitor or somebody look at it and see maybe something can be done. Nobody's perfect. I understand that. But it's their life. I mean, my dad was one of these guys. We get up and bust the city commissioners and all that stuff. But he loved it. That was just part of his psyche, and like he was a buster. Is what he did. Yeah. And there was like, oh God, I could run this whole group of people around. But they, as you said, they have the First Amendment right. Say whatever you want, and unless it's slanderous, I guess you do what you want to do. And
now, it's also incumbent upon elected officials to listen politely, say thank you, and move on. Not engage them, not argue with folks. Folks have a right to make their point. They have their 5 minutes to make their point. The story you told earlier about the judge, there were people who think that they should be allowed to talk for as long as they want. That's just inconsiderate of all the others that want to speak. You can make your point in 5 minutes. You're talking to hear yourself talk if you feel like you need more than 5 minutes. And at the end of the day, the elected officials need to have the discipline and the self-control not to engage, to listen, to understand, to glean what they can from it, but not to engage.
No, it's difficult. And again, I hope that 5 good people will want to run for Millville City Commission. And someday it would be nice if Millville got into the 21st century and we had mayor-council form of government. Vineland does very well with it. I mean, it just works because you have your executive branch, your legislative branch, and they are there to do their job. Where in Millville, it's the commission form of government. And as I said, each commissioner is their own department head, and they have all the power over that department. So again, I understand why if you're a commissioner, you don't want to give that up. But for the goodness of the sake of the city of Millville, there's only maybe 4 commission form of governments out of 565 municipalities. What's that tell you, folks? It's like it's antiquated, and it needs to go as Vineland has done and Bridgeton has done.
We might disagree on gun control, but we're 100% agreed on this issue.
Yeah.
The Walsh form of government is non-functional, and that a mayor and council form of government, Millville would benefit greatly from a change to mayor council.
Yeah, they really would, and it would be a good thing, but it's not going to happen. I tried when I was there to see if we could get a petition started.
Is that a challenge?
No, I'm out of it, man. I don't want anything to do with it at all. But what I think, I saw my other commissioners, they didn't want to do it. So.
Maybe that'll give me something to do.
Huh?
Maybe that'll give me something to do.
Yeah, that's good, Joe. You're good at that. I would be happy to see. That would be nice. It really would. Because, again, Vineland is blessed. Finucci is phenomenal. And, Paul Spinelli is now the council president. Great guy, and they have good people on the council, and they work well together. And it's just the way Bridgeton works. Every municipality almost in the state of New Jersey, except for 4 or 5, are doing the mayor council form of government. Now the townships have a committee form of government where they sort of rotate among whoever's going to be the mayor. But I mean that's small townships. Like I said. When CIO.
The township committee form of government, especially in my opinion, I know some have 5 members, but the 3-member township committee, where there's 1 member up every year, to me is just the best form of government that we have in the state. It really is, and I wish every municipality were governed by a 3-member governing body.
Where you rotate, and at least even the county commissioner situation. like Joe was saying, you don't want all 7 coming up at one time.
Right.
You know, it runs 2, 2, and 3.
2, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
and,
so-
and the downside to that is the board changes its complexion every year. Even when somebody gets reelected, it still changes complexion every year. But the positive side is there is some level of continuity.
Yeah.
You can imagine you have all 7 commissioners voted out of office and 7 new commissioners installed. The county government being chaos.
Look at Millville. It's
Not unlike Millville.
Almost exactly, except for the one guy
who was wise enough to decline the opportunity.
Oh, you mean me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Oh my God, yes. Oh.
You actually weren't on the commission when just before this last election, right? Because you had just come down from.
I was freeholder.
The freeholders,
yeah.
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. So you weren't re-elected. That
I wanted to come back to the city because I felt I was able to do a lot for the city. And that's something, too, folks. My favorite mayor of the city of Millville was a guy who was a Republican named Chet Goodwin. He was Jim Hurley's brother-in-law. Loved Chet. But Chet was a businessman. Chet was an accountant. Chet had the knowledge to do the job. I was a businessman. I gave my all day to the city. As, for the $10,000 you make out of that, that's all you get from that. But I wanted to do that all my life, so I said I'm going to do this. For those 12 years, I was there every single day, and I loved what I did. I had great people. It wasn't just me. I had Don Ayers, Tom Ayers, Kim Ayers. I had a lot of wonderful people. Lou Thompson, go right down the line. They came together, and we put things together like the Arts District, and I was so proud that what we were able to do with the Arts District, Joe. I got invited by the state New Jersey Main Street organization. It was the mayor of Collingswood, myself, and the mayor of Red Bank. And we would travel all over the state and do a dog and pony show about our city and how proud we were. In fact, the national Main Street organization came to downtown Millville. I wouldn't want them to come now, but back in 2001 or whatever, we were rocking and rolling. 95% of occupancy was happening on High Street. Mary Ann Cannon put in the Village on High, which is right up here, and the art. We had 14 original art people came in, pioneer artists we call them, and of course, again, in fairness, 2008 the economy went in the tank, so that hurt the arts business some. But we had the Riverfront Renaissance Center for the Arts, and I remember it was an old Frank Spence and Boys Shop building is what were there, like 2 or 3 that were empty. So with the city, we bought that for $65,000 or something. And then anyway, we put, I don't know, maybe another $100,000 in it to get it renovated and up and running. Well, the guy who was doing the renovations, his name was Mike Aliano, and I was the mayor, and he said, Mayor, do you think this arts district's going to work? I said, yes, I do. Well, there was a building next door that was basically a junk shop. It was called AA Sales. He went and bought that. He invested $1 million into that building, and it's beautiful, put in all kind of offices and stores, a restaurant. Well, in fact, that's where El Guacamole is now, in that building. And then after that, another friend of mine, Rick Abbott, goes, hey, Jim, looks like this thing's taking off. He put $2 million into what was a Woolworth building, made it into one of the finest restaurants in South Jersey called Winfield's. And so at least it spurred private developers to come in and do the things that needed to be done. And again, it worked really well for us. And, a lot of it's timing, but again, the people I had working with me were fabulous people, and they really did a great job.
You mentioned the mayor of Collins. Was that Jim Alley?
Yeah. He's an attorney, right?
Jim got elected while I think I was a freeholder. It was about the same time, so we're contemporaries, because I haven't seen Jim Alley in 100 years.
Yeah.
But what he and Lou Capelli was elected at the same time, what they did with Collingswood is absolutely a model. It's absolutely a model.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to hear that Jim is still, I think, running around doing this kind of work, and he should. So. I haven't seen or spoken with Jim Malley in probably 30 years, but he got elected at about that same time, and I followed what they're doing.
He was a great guy. He and I forget the mayor of Red Bank's name, but we just went all over and spoke and put up slides of things.
I didn't know that.
Stuff like that. It was really nice. In fact, speaking of Collingswood, I was so fortunate. Are you Catholic?
Excuse me?
Are you Catholic?
Yes.
Okay, me too. Anyway, Steve Bertinozzi is a priest, and he just became a priest in 2021. He's in his early 40s. He was at my cousin Harry's 90th birthday party, and he's now a priest. He gave the invocation. He's in Collingswood, the reason I bring that up. But what a super guy. And one of my other phenomenal priest friends is David Rivera. David's in Hamilton, and I love that man. So at least there's hope in the Catholic Church. There are two guys that I know there.
Right.
I know there's plenty others, but those I have a relationship with, and I look forward to being there. And
I know both men as well, and I concur with your assessment of
that's
both
good.
of them. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Two good priests.
Yeah, it really is, and that's a hard thing to find. I mean, here's David. He went up to St. Joe Hamilton, and he was only 38, and they made him the pastor because they don't have enough priests. And then he's got St. Joe, St. Andrews, and they closed one of the other Catholic churches in Hamilton up. And it's so sad to see that, but I won't get into that. We're almost out of time. But anyway, I think I was telling, I don't know if I told you, Joe, but I was telling the senator, I got to be friendly with a fella named Gary Malik. And Gary worked for Cape May County, was an administrator down there. And I just met him last Friday, in fact. And we got talking about us growing up, we're same age, growing up and being altar boys. And this one, he's too young, so he doesn't know the Latin, but we were saying, Deum quile tifica, juventu meam. I don't know what it meant, but I said that every Mass, and he had, just all the different Latin things that we did back in the 50s, I guess it was, early 60s is when I was, and he was too, so it's funny, we got doing our Latin
the
together.
only Latin I remember is the Pope's phone number, et cum spirit 220.
That is great. Well, on that, buddy, I'm going to say goodbye.
It's a pleasure.
Joe, thank you
Jim.
so much. Always enjoy having you with me. Joe Condo, who is the Republican campaign chairman and is also an attorney and handles patents. And I thank Joe for being with us, and I thank you for joining us. Thank you, George Kachia, for producing the show tonight. Have a good night, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.